Welcome everyone to Higher Moment Mastermind. I'm Shira Lotzar, happy to be your host, and Vern Schellinger, my co-host. Happy to answer your job search questions. So Elizabeth, Alexander, Judah, what can we answer for you?
Alexander, I think you're on mute.
I don't have a question yet. I was just waving hi because Shira said hi.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I have a question then.
Okay.
Shira asked for questions. You got to come up with a question, right? Can't leave Shira hanging. Idea about part-time work. Any thoughts on that? It's a big category, but just just in general, as I shared in the beginning, kind of do my own thing.
It's a little challenging, right? It's challenging for you, and it's also challenging for the employer because it's hard to find each other, right? Because most people are looking for full-time work and full-time employees. There is a company called Flex Professionals, and they place permanent part-time people. Now they typically place administrative positions. I'm not sure if they place, folks like yourself in graphic design. There's a place you could check out. Beyond that, there aren't really there's a company called Flex Jobs also you may want to think about. But yeah, it's really hard to find part-time work. I wish I had an easy answer for that. It's just a little bit like,
But the firms that you're referring to, Shira, are actually putting people into organizations on a part-time basis versus Upwork or Fiverr or those types of things.
That's right.
That's part-time work, but it's independent part-time work, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I thought of maybe contacting some studios and approaching them, as freelance overflow. They've just got, whatever it is, a big project come in, they could just use a little bit of work on a project by project basis. I know some companies have that, a stable, I'm not sure the right word, stable of, freelancers that they can call on any particular, on a as needed basis. So maybe something like that is that's popping into my head. That's not a bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd say, yeah, for sure. For you folks who are in the creative space, it's helpful. And I'm sorry I didn't mention this to you earlier. Speaking of staffing agencies, there is a staffing agency called Brainstorm Creative Resources.
Brainstorm?
Brainstorm Creative Resources. It's run by a guy named Adam Seidel, and the website is brainstormresources.com.
You said Brainstorm Creative Resources?
Yeah, but then the website is Brainstorm Resources.
Right.
And, he exclusively places creatives like yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, I know there's several of those. It used to be. I can't think of them right now. When I want to think of something, I can't think of it. But I know there was a number of in the area. Robert Half and Profiles. There's
he exclusively does creatives.
Yeah, I think some of them used to be more, and they've expanded out. But he's kept to the.
That's all he's ever done. That's all he's
check him out. That's cool.
Yeah. When I think of Robert Half, I think of accountants and other corpos, right?
So interesting. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they have different divisions. Yeah.
Something else I know you can do is you can stipulate with Indeed search criteria that you're looking for part-time and set up alerts. That's something I've done.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think that
Judah, just the other thing to, as you're networking, make sure anybody you're talking to in your network, do you know any, part-time positions that might be open, or agencies, or do you know any connections in the creative space that, are involved in hiring people and that type of thing? So,
yeah, up until now, when Shira asked for questions, and I'm like, oh, this is Higher Moment, getting hired, but I'm really focusing on my business. I was always thinking of like two things, either doing my business and trying to apply for a full-time job. And even though I always check, part-time, and I check the whole range of possibilities, I wasn't really thinking of actually just focusing my energy on part-time work. It kind of opens up the possibilities a little bit.
Well, so look, here's the thing, Jude. I know we haven't really ever deep dived into your situation, But when you're as a creative, right, as a graphic designer, your kind of work is actually no pun intended, it's designed for the gig work, right? Most companies, as you know, are not big enough to warrant a full-time graphic designer, right? Most companies are small and they need somebody who's just going to come in on an ad hoc basis. And so you can call it part-time, some people call it contract, some people just call it freelance gig work. It's all the same concept. It's just people will hire you as they need you, usually as an independent, right? Like you are, or through maybe somebody like Adam Seidel, or through a communications firm, a marketing firm, where they sub you out. They have you on their roster and they just need you every once in a while.
Yeah, in fact, that's so true. And in this job search, it's just really come home to me what a unique subset of the world the creatives are, even in any business and department, and all the resources. And as I've been digging back into them, it's very freeing in a way. It feels so satisfying to be, consuming, materials and connecting with creatives, because the challenges are so unique. Actually, my very first job when I went back to school, I went to MICA, which is Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore, and I got placed at the Johns Hopkins place called Japaigo. You may have heard of that, I'm not sure. But my first several years were as a contract. They couldn't afford to hire me, so I was, even from the beginning, I was doing exactly what you said, Shira. I was a contract employee, so I am pretty used to that.
Yeah, and also partnering with. And by the way, the advice I'm about to give Judah, I'd like for everybody to be thinking about in terms of networking. So Judah, especially for someone like yourself, partnering with other creatives who don't do what you do, but they're in a similar space. Maybe that's a social media consultant or a writer or people like that, right? Because a lot of times you guys could give referrals to each other. And that extends to everybody else on this call. People are looking for traditional, full-time work, is that, be thinking about the people who are in similar spaces to you, who can refer you an opportunity. So first of all, people who do what you do, because they themselves may hear about a good opportunity, right? So in your case, somebody who's in business development, right? In the association world, and that we've talked about that privately, right? So they'll hear of opportunities, but then the people who are just sort of right off like a sibling to you, people who do sort of similar work. So in your case, maybe somebody in marketing, right?
Yeah, I was thinking of actually reaching out to Jennifer Dalton, brand mirror lady, because we do similar things, and that's the tricky thing. It's I also do brand consulting and that sort of thing, but
she does it a little bit more on the wordsmithing side, and you're going to be doing probably more on the visual side of
that's
things.
what I was thinking.
So it can be complementary.
I was thinking just that.
So always be thinking about the people who do what you do and the people who come alongside and do similar things of what you do, because both of those people could hear about opportunities that are not right for them, but could be right for you.
Awesome.
Alexander?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot of creatives in my life as well, including a friend from junior high school who pretty much just went straight into graphic design. Judah, are you new to being just a full-time graphic designer or whatnot?
No, not at all. Actually, I've been doing it professionally at a living for over 20 years. I probably started at it almost 30 years ago, believe it or not.
Oh, but with a corporation.
I worked for a small. My very first, just to give you a quick summary. My very first job, I was self-taught, and I got an internship at a place called Rings Layton down in DC. One of the designers was then going out on their own. I went with her, helped her start her business. That led to some other working for other agencies, and then eventually I left a place called Graphic out in Alexandria as a multimedia designer, as an information architect, did a bunch of things there, and then went on my own.
Okay.
In 2000.
So I got to say, right now, if you go to any Comic-Con, anime convention, or whatnot, there are booths of people lined up. That's all they do for a living, is do that, and some of them do absolutely excellently. Every creative I know, their end goal is that kind of independence. For example, I mean, the friend from high school, as well as an upstairs neighbor a very long time ago in a different city, they were known by larger corporations as someone on a list that they could call upon. So that was their end goal for a rolling career, is to have a lot of people just know that you could be called upon, right? Fiverr is just like a bouncing point to get to that. You only pay Fiverr or allow Fiverr to steal your money just enough to get known, right? Like other examples of independent work. I know people who make 3D models for avatars in VR chat and others, and ultimately they will make a good portion of their living on Etsy or Gumroad. Gumroad being an electronic place, Etsy being a real life place if you're making actual like real life model or stuffed toys or whatnot. So yeah, I mean, anybody younger today don't even think about a corporation. They think about being being their own brand. I am known for making this. Anytime someone thinks of this, I'm one of the names people think of, right? When someone wants to see a dragon tail, they think of there's someone I met like last year, a leather dragon tail and whatnot at Renaissance fairs. So, you know, that's sort of an end goal for a creative.
And Jude, of course, these days, right? I mean, we don't have to tell you how much graphics is, you know, how proliferates, right? So, I mean, really, it just seems to me like you're probably your best bet is going to be to continue to be solo, right? And just continue to find the gig work, because that's really how most people hire these days, right? Rather than the full-time internal.
I think so. And just not to monopolize all the time here, but I think that has been one of my challenges, is having a lot of experience, you know, and being a senior person and having the, you know, the strategy and the larger view that I can bring to bear on my individual, you know, clients that I can work with. Whereas kind of coming into a company is a little bit different, you know, at least initially, because you kind of come in as, you know, maybe executing things or as a junior,
Right.
Unless I came in as an art director or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, actually, so I can probably bring more of my value to individual clients.
Right.
To be
That's right.
honest, it's kind of what I'm discovering or, you know, realizing.
That's right.
Let me jump in here and specifically give you an example of what can happen sometimes in the job search. And Ing, this is pertaining to Joyce Farrell. Okay, she no longer works for the Conservation Fund. Okay,
Yeah.
if you go to her LinkedIn profile says present.
Yeah.
So, and Shira said this a number of times, and you know, people that are on LinkedIn don't always keep their profiles up to date. Sometimes they don't check messages there. And so I tried every which way, and finally I left a voicemail message, and someone got back to me from the Conservation Fund and saying, sorry, she no longer works here. We don't have any contact information. We can't get in touch with her. So
Yeah. Thank you for trying.
yeah, that's all I can do, right?
Yeah.
So just another thing to be aware of, you know, when you're connecting with people in LinkedIn, just be mindful of that. So. And Paul, I got your resume, and the person I'm going to send it to, and Cheryl will remember this, is a person named Jamie Below. Jamie was on this call just like you.
Yeah, for a long time.
For a long time before she landed at the American Bankers Association. And Jamie's got a fairly senior position at the American Bankers Association, and I've stayed in contact with her for almost the entire. She's probably been there about a year now. And so I will make sure I forward that to Jamie later today.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And Jamie would probably be able to tell you, as you said, the position could be filled, you know, or not, but I'll try to get as much information as I can for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So Paula, while you have the hot seat here, do you want to share with us what's going on in your job search?
It feels a little cold right about now. I've just looked at several different things. She's been great at sending me information, especially on the association side. And I decided to, just from conversation that we've had in this this particular meeting to just kind of really focus on associations, even though my career prior to going back to school was in membership. I really wanted to get away from just, the membership side of that particular part of my career. But one question I do have is on resumes, because when I left Girl Scouts and I was there for 23 years, I became a caregiver for my dad. And then after he passed, then I went back to school. So at the top part of my resume, it says, I worked as a substitute teacher, and then I had like a contract job for a minute before it even gets to my career working with Girl Scouts. So for me, that's concerning that is the first two things that anyone sees on my resume.
Right. When did you leave Girl Scouts?
I left them in 2017.
Got it. Yeah. So let me show you, actually, I'm going to bring this up. There's a resume that I did. Not sure how many of you know that I'm a career coach and I'm a resume writer and LinkedIn profile writer. And so I'm going to bring up a resume. That actually addresses that, what happened with you. So I'm going to pull this up here. Okay, so you see what I did here? It was very simple, just elder care. You see the top entry, right? And then this is the last position, right? So now you could actually put an end date there, right? So like this person was settling family affairs. So actually this person has two, right? Full-time care for 3 years, went back to work. And then once his father passed, then he had to settle his affairs. Now we could say, I'm actually could have said, instead of to present, to say to, I don't know, 2023, and then, settled the family affairs after death of father, semicolon, available to return to work full time as of February 2023. Understand? And then you could actually put the substitute teaching in there.
Okay.
Have been working as a substitute teacher from X date to X date. You could put that in that section because that's kind of all part and parcel, right, of this time frame.
Yes, it is. Over the last 4 years, and unfortunately, settling those family affairs, it takes a while.
Exactly. That's what. And on top of that, I don't know. Did you know that on LinkedIn there's a new entry you can put in?
I heard about that, but I couldn't find it.
Let me explain. So for anybody who's had a career gap, let me pull this up for you. It's a wonderful new option. I'm just so grateful that LinkedIn has done this. Okay, so what you do is you go down to your experience section, right? See, experience. You have to be in your editable page, of course, to do this. And you're going to see this plus sign right here. Okay, so you click on the plus sign, there's two options. Add a position, which is a normal position, and add a career break. Click on add a career break. And it says, please select, drop down, and there's all of these things. In your case, you'd put caregiving. And then it goes down to description. Cared for ill family member, cared for ill parents, something, whatever you want to write. During this time, I worked as a substitute teacher, blah, 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 blah. Available for full-time work as of X date. Make sense? And that's it. And then what'll happen is it'll actually show up like that. So for example, right here, see? That's what it's going to look like.
Oh, wow.
You have that little sign.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I've
Yeah,
got a pretty good example of that. If I could take the screen, is that all right?
Sure. Yeah.
So this is me. And oh, come on, go away. There, I've taken that with spades on the end. So experience. So the most current is this. Here's a career gap.
So Alexander, just so you know, we're only seeing it in your box. We're not seeing it on the full screen. And did you actually hit share screen?
Roll your cursor to the bottom in the green.
I got it. I didn't actually pull the trigger on this. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
All right.
Yes.
So there's me, my face, some stuff I did on Dolly to do the thing, my hashtags, and experience. So there's a career gap that is current. I am currently self-employed. So I was advised that only for the current, I do the self-employed thing, doing professional development, because in truth, I am getting my first certification for program management. Then here's a real job. Here's another career break. 2 years, 4 months. That's my pandemic break. Intentional break, but even though it's my pandemic break, intentional break to question everything in life. No, it's not a joke. And supported other job seekers through interview practice group. What else did I do? Small business stuff. So, and I mean, right now I'm intentionally saying that I went from software development to Scrum Master to project management. So this is the time I thought about that, you know. Here's another real job, and there's no, that's not relevant. Sorry. Let's go back over here. So because I put in the breaks, everything here on the front page before I click on the show everything, all my experiences button, really frames it as a project manager, Scrum Master type of person, right? I'm no longer a software developer, and it's not even obvious. So nobody will be confused about my huge software development background. I'm looking for project management. So after I was told about the career break thing, this one, that helped a lot. It helped a lot in my image. So yeah.
Paula, does that help you? Paula, are you still there?
I am. I was trying to get my mic to come back on. Yes, it does help me tremendously. And that was, who was that? We were talking, Alex or Alexander? Alexander. I would love to talk with you about your career as Scrum Master.
Okay. Yeah, that's no problem. How do I stop sharing screen?
I did it. I did it for you.
Okay, that's why I can't find it. All right, so I'll get off of this. There we go. All right.
I'd like to raise a question, Alexander. You can veto this if you want, but I love the fact that you're so self-disclosing, and you led that by saying, take a break to question everything in life. And so the question I'd like to throw out to Shira and Vernon.
It happens, yeah.
No, I think it's awesome. It's beautiful. I do it every day. Now the question for me is, do I want to put that as my top bullet point on LinkedIn?
I wouldn't.
Bullet point?
That's what I'm thinking. I think it may not serve. It may not serve you.
Under professional development, because I'm certifying myself as a program manager. That's me. Professional development as an independent away from corporate life. I don't know. I'm getting some ideas here.
Yeah. I love the other bullet points were great, and I can see you're taking it what you do very seriously, and you're doing a lot of, sounds like the big deep dive into energizing your skills and learning. But putting questioning everything in life would make me wonder, okay, what maybe is this guy not even going to be a program manager?
I think what that's referencing is the pandemic time. So people did a lot of soul searching, right? So I think in Alexander's case, in that particular case, during that particular time of our collective lives, that's an interesting kind of clever thing to say, but I wouldn't recommend it for just a general kind of concept on your branding.
Yeah, Shira, I'm also wondering kind of.
and employers, looking for, what do you do? What can you bring
Right.
to the,
Right.
to the table? How can you help us solve our
Right,
problems?
that's right.
And you say, well, I'm really questioning everything.
Especially everything in life. I'm gonna give them a lot of insurance.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thank you. Shira, or Vern too, I was also wondering if you put too many career breaks, can that work against you?
Yeah, that might be a little bit challenging. I know, unless there's like some real reasons, like, okay, elder care, went back to graduate school, that kind of thing, sure. But just career breaks for the sake of career breaks, that could look a little choppy. So you may want to think about kind of how to group things together, because there could be a time in your life where you did maybe a lot of freelance work or that kind of thing, and you can group it all under freelance and then have the different positions under that kind of thing. So yeah, I wouldn't do it every few years. But if you need to, it is what it is. And by the way, for anybody who's had a health situation, a personal health situation that's taken them out of the market, you can still do career break, but please, please, please do not indicate at all that it was your own health issue. Okay. You can simply say, I think it is, I don't know if it could be caregiving. That could be one. And you could have a description saying cared for an ill family member. You are your own family. So that's okay. You can say that. But you do not want on an interview, in your resume, in your LinkedIn, nowhere do you want to talk about any sort of personal health challenge, because that could open you up for discrimination. Okay, so just family caregiving, fine. But other than that, I wouldn't mention it.
So as I'm talking to, screening calls or interview calls, I realize that people are asking, tell me why you're leaving NSF, because nowhere do I say that I've been laid off. So is it?
You haven't put an end date?
I have
Okay.
put an end date, but nothing in the cover letter or, in the resume do I say. And so is that normal that I
Sure.
don't say anything? So let them ask me why.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
have it come up organically why I'm leaving.
That's
Why?
the most
Okay.
normal. Yeah, the most normal thing in the world is you have an end date. You wait for somebody to ask you the question and you have an answer.
Okay.
I have on rare occasion, and it's not a bad thing. And Vern, I'd love to get your input on this. It really is not a bad thing. Every once in a while, what somebody will do is, and they'll do this throughout their whole resume, not just the recent, in parentheses, right underneath the dates. You know how you have your dates like on the right-hand side? The person will put in small print, like 9-point, 10-point, reason for leaving, colon, and then a short reason for leaving. Physician eliminated, relocated, left for a better opportunity, something like that. Very rarely have I seen it. I think it actually can be quite effective if done in a nice streamlined way, because then it just eliminates all questioning from the employer. And most employers be like, oh, thanks for letting me know, like for being treated. You do not have to do that. Most people don't.
Yeah.
But I have seen it done effectively. I'm not even saying I'd recommend it, although if you do decide to do it, I think it can be a good thing. So Vern, what you're thinking?
I think so. The first thought that came to my mind, though, was that, let's suppose you were terminated from an organization. Do you want to put that on there, or do you leave it blank? And and then you've got all these reasons, but there's one that's blank.
Yeah. So some people might say laid off, right? If that's the case, transitioned out, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Again, this is to Vern's point. I mean, it's not a foolproof kind of a thing. I think that's probably why a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if it feels right to you, it's certainly an option.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question about resumes?
Sure.
So the goal is to customize our resume. And, everyone says that, but no one gives really clear directions on how exactly to customize a resume.
That's my area of expertise. I would love to help you on that.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, I have a PowerPoint I'm so glad you asked that, Paula. It's just one of the things that I love talking about, because most people just don't even know to do it. Hold on, let me
What was
see.
the question again? I'm sorry. I
About
missed.
customizing your resume
And everybody tells you you should
to
customize.
do it, but
tells
how
you
in the world
how
do you
to
do it?
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, okay, I'm not, let me just, sorry, I don't want to take too much time here. Let me just see if I can quickly find the PowerPoint. If I can't, then I will, just, here we go. All right, so let's see here. Which slide is it? Okay. Sorry. Okay. So let me go through it this way. All right, let's do this one. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you here is, and this is not actually, this is a combination slide. It's actually the slide right before it. This is all about interviewing. Okay, so what I was sharing here is, making sure that the job is a mutual fit for you and for them. So I talk about making sure that you read every sentence thoroughly. This slide actually can multi-purpose into what you're talking about. Okay. So what I want you to do is to look at this. So first of all, when you're customizing your resume, okay, there are a few different sections that you want to look at, and list them out. Number one, the summary. Now, by the way, every job description is written a little differently, as you know, but generally speaking, look at the summary paragraph. Look at the first few bullets of the job responsibilities. And then look at the first few bullets of this qualification section, where they say required and if they say preferred. So on this slide, it's number 2 and number 3. And here's what you do. You have to sort of be a bit of a forensic analyst rather, okay? And you really have to read it. Now, why am I saying that slowly? Read it. Because most of us human beings, we scan, especially these days, don't we? We sort of whoosh, 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 whoosh. And our eyes literally will gloss over very important concepts, especially if you're a job seeker. If you've seen one membership director position, you've seen 1,000, okay? As far as you're concerned, yeah, it says membership, recruitment, retention, engagement, blah, 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 and it all kind of sounds the same. And your eyes will just sort of gloss. That's normal. So you're a normal person. What I'm suggesting here is that you treat every job description as if it's the only one you've ever read. Be very deliberate, very intentional. Go through everything that they say, but particularly, again, the summary section, first few bullets of responsibilities, first few bullets of the qualifications. Why? Those are those are the areas where the employer is saying to you, this is really what we want. This is really what we want. You're going to find those keywords embedded, likely, in those areas. Now, the way that they phrase it and the keywords that you use actually might be a little bit different. So, for example, they might say, in your case, Paula, when we talk about membership, right? They may not use the term membership engagement. They might say engaging members, right? Or ensuring that, the association is demonstrating its value for the members to help with recruitment and blah, blah, blah. But and if you read it well, you can turn it into a noun, what I'll call a noun phrase: membership engagement, membership recruitment, right? That kind of thing. And so but you've got to suss it out. You've got to really analyze what they are saying. And especially in the qualifications section, I'm telling you, that is really where the rubber meets the road for the employer. They want to know, have you been there? Have you done that? Do you have the t-shirt and the side of potato chips, right? And the first few bullets. Now, where I would encourage you to stay away from are the soft skills. Now, there's a difference between hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills are what you do. Soft skills are how you do it. On the hard skill side, which is what they want, that would be membership recruitment and retention. It would be customer service. It's going to be board relations. It's going to be financial analysis, project management, things you do. That and that shows the employer on your resume, you have the skills, the functional skills to do the job. The soft skills, which will be in the job description, things like being analytical, and having great interpersonal skills, being a team player, being organized, being strategic, having a critical thinker, those kinds of things. Yes, they're important, but they're not important for the resume. They are extremely important for the interview. Let me say that again. They're not important for the resume. They're extremely important for the interview. Employers do not screen your resume for soft skills. They screen them for hard skills. They also screen them for industry experience and tenure and things like that. They do not look at the soft skills on your resume because everybody's going to say, I'm a team player and I'm analytical and whatever. In the interview, they will ask you some questions, usually some behavioral questions, like describe a time when you used your critical thinking skills, and then you have to tell a story. And then they kind of see how you talk about it and how you have demonstrated your soft skills. That's important. But don't focus when you're looking at keyword and customization of your resume. It's not about going through your resume saying, oh, analytical, creative, great with people. No, that's not what they're looking for. But they do want the hard stuff. Customer engagement, member recruitment, financial analysis, project management, board engagement, right? That is what they want. And again, it'll be summary, first few bullets of quals, first few bullets of responsibilities, first few bullets of the qualifications. That's been my experience as a recruiter, writing these things, reading these things and vetting people, and then helping folks with their resume. That's typically how you want to look at it. So Vern, would love to hear your thoughts because you've obviously done a lot of recruiting too.
I really don't have any other thoughts related to that. As Shira said, in interviewing people, that's where you're going to focus more on the soft skills, because after looking at thousands of resumes, people always say I'm a team player, and I'm just repeating what Shira said. And there's no way on the resume, is this, everybody says they're a team player, but are they really? And so that's where the interview try to, teases that out. How much of a team player are you? Can you tell me a story,
Right.
example of that really demonstrated your ability to be a team player? Whereas the hard skills are the hard skills, and that's where your bullet points, when you have great bullet points and employee relations, and you give an example of how employee relations, or whether it's project management, that's what they're screening for. And the person that as you go through resumes, I mean, when I was recruiting, it was like I had an A, B, and C pile. Looked at a resume and put it in the C pile. That resume was gone. I'm not going to look at that. The A's were the ones that I thought were the best, and the B's were kind of a backup. And so then it was the only ones I looked at were the A's. And even then I had too many. So, we're not going to interview 15 people. So let's suppose it was 15 resumes in the A pile. Then it was, okay, now we got to go through it another time, talk to the hiring manager, talk to someone else in HR, put our heads together. Which 3 to 5 resumes here are the people that we want to call for an interview? And then, of course, when you're in the recruiting game, sometimes you'll call that person. They said, I just found a job. Okay, well, they're no longer available. So that's why you need, if you're going to interview, let's say 5 people for the job, you probably need, 10 resumes that you're looking at to reach out to. You call the top 5, and hopefully they're all available. And if they're not, then you move on. So
yeah, I would learn to talk about the resume and the interview, and I learned something from it. And I have a questions the resume and the interview, which is more important? Because if you don't have the elaborated resume on the wheel, we'll submit the resume first, and maybe the recruiter not satisfied with the resume, they may not give you the chance to have an interview. Is that possible?
Absolutely. There are plenty of recruiters who don't, they don't like the resume. They don't see what they need to see. They're not seeing. That's why it's so important to do this customization. When you look on the job description and you see the keywords, you see the competencies that they're looking for, making sure that shows up on your resume, that'll help to capture their attention. Because if they don't see what they need to see, they will oftentimes screen you out. And that's the customization is hugely important. And so I'm bringing up this resume. This is actually the same resume as the one I shared earlier. This is the rest of it, where the keywords are a couple places. They're up here, okay, in this text box, but they're also down here layered into right next to under the job description. And so this is the resume that we created. This is the generic one. This resume, though, should be customized for different jobs. So let's pretend it was customized, all right? So you see how here, Paula, there's all these labels, okay? That actually is the best way to customize your resume, is have labels next to your accomplishment bullets. Because if you didn't, this is, again, it's an optical illusion thing. Imagine that there were no labels here. I'm going to take them out. This is what most people have.
Actually, just
Okay.
make them not bold.
Huh?
Just make
Oh,
them
that's
not
true.
bold.
Fine. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I could do that. But anyway, do you see how, yeah. Okay. So do you see how this looks like want. When an employer scans down the page, even if you customize this, the employer is literally not going to see it because all the words are going to be almost hidden. Whereas if you put the bolded labels, and this, by the way, these happen to have two. I normally put just one. This particular resume, that's what we did. But normally it's just, just going to be one, like that. But either way, that way, when the employer scans down the page, boom, 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 they're going to see it now. Of course, if you are applying to a larger company, let's say over 200 employees, and Paul, I'm not sure if that's going to be your case because you're probably going to associations which are smaller, but if you're applying to a company that has over 200 employees, they're typically going to have an applicant tracking system, a big database where everything goes into, and the database is screening your resume, in which case the database is looking for these words, okay? Now, they don't necessarily have to be bolded, but they are going to be looking for the keywords, depending upon what competencies the recruiter puts into their search. You can't know that, but again, if you look through that job description really, really well, and you have enough of those keywords in there, likely it'll capture their attention. But if it's just a pair of eyeballs that are looking at the document, this is going to be super helpful. Does that make sense, Paula?
Yeah, thank you. And I work as a part-time job as a teacher to teach Chinese. And then, I don't have any qualifications, and I would say, what can I do? And I'll give these things like in the, like a bold, bold label, bold label. And right now I have like maybe 6 students, but so if I don't have the qualifications, like should I just can you teach me how to elaborate my resume? So it's like just one more thing you can do, and maybe let's do some more thing I can go along the way.
Yeah, so that to me is one of the best things, honestly, when you're thinking about resume writing, is the labeling. It's one of the best things that I can suggest, honestly. If you do nothing else on your resume, that thing will actually help you. Paula, does that make sense? And is that helpful for your customization question?
It's very helpful. And looking at the resume that you had, for an example, I have a resume that has, sentences like that, and someone's like, oh, it's way too wordy. You can't see anything. So I think
the labeling helps. Yep. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because it actually allows you to have a longer bullet because it's labeled.
Okay.
So the eye just looks at the labels, and then if the person wants to read more, they can. See? Whereas if you don't have the label and you have a long paragraph, the eye can't separate between any of the between any of your accomplishments.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, and just going back to, again, my experience in scanning resumes, when you think about it, if you're in the position where you've got to look at these resumes and you want to diligently read every single word of every single resume, it takes a lot of time.
Right.
And HR people that have got multiple jobs they're trying to do, that they simply don't have time. And as we've said on this call, certainly a lot of recruiters, certainly contingent recruiters, don't have the time to read every single word. And in going through resumes, I was always amazed where someone would send a resume in for this job and literally scanning it, I didn't see one of the 3 or 4 top skills or requirements anywhere on the resume. I'm going, why? It just kind of, I was just befuddled why people would spend time and energy even, applying to the job. So it went all the way from that end of the spectrum to people who obviously, those A resumes, had all of the at least the key words in there, the key experiences that look like they would be somebody we'd want to talk to in an interview.
By the way, speaking of that, remember, I think it was last week or the week before, you had informed us that on LinkedIn, there's no place to offer to upload a cover letter on the LinkedIn posting. Well, interesting. I tried a little experiment and it has not worked. So I just posted a CEO search the other day on LinkedIn, and so I've got this very long search announcement, right, which I didn't put in the thing. I just put a little overarching, just like a little paragraph, and then I said, in caps, right, in the posting, I said, please see the URL below to review the full job announcement, so that you can send your cover letter and resume to Shira Lotzar, the recruiter. And then I put the URL on my website, right? And I've gotten 30 responses so far. Nobody's done it. Okay. Well, sorry. One person wrote me privately to just sort of ask, but actually, no, he didn't. He wrote me for something. No, actually, nobody's done it. And I'm like, right. So what I'm wondering is, I'm trying to walk a mile in your shoes now. When you all are looking at LinkedIn job postings, and maybe it's different for every person on this call, but I'm just kind of wondering, what's your experience? Is your experience that you see a million of these searches and you just sort of hit easy apply, easy apply, easy apply? No, you guys are actually really reading it and looking at how to apply and what they want. And I know the two of you are nodding your head. Paula, do you use LinkedIn as well? And Leonardo, do you use LinkedIn? I just want to kind of get a little sense here as to what people's experiences are.
I use LinkedIn, but I don't like to apply through LinkedIn. I'd rather go to the company website, check to see if it's still even posted on the website. Because sometimes it's posted in LinkedIn, but it's not on their website.
You're actually doing research.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that job is still, still there. And so I personally would prefer to go through their website to apply as opposed to LinkedIn.
Yeah, if I see that it's not on their company's website, then and there's no other choice then other than LinkedIn, then I will do LinkedIn. But my default is see the listing on LinkedIn, but then go to the company's website, see if there's a way through there. Or even if it's on LinkedIn and they have it attached to like an ADP or something, then I'll do that. But my preference is to find it on the company's website first.
Okay.
I have to say that in a lot of the jobs I've looked at, most of them, Shira, appear the way yours does. Specific application instructions rather than easy apply. So that's more the norm than not, if that's helpful.
And for those companies, is the easy apply button removed?
Oh, you know what? I haven't noticed because I don't
because I'd have to go back and look at how I did the posting to see if I have an option to remove the easy apply. So
I'm not
sure.
know.
Yeah. It's just fascinating, right? And of course, I've gotten tons of people who obviously have not read the search announcement because they're not qualified, but that's normal. And that's the thing of it. And that's why I just really want to encourage you, whether you're applying through LinkedIn, Indeed, anywhere, to Paula's question about customization. I'm so glad you asked that, Paula, because we recruiters, it matters to us. We're thankful that you're actually asking the question, because we do spend time really saying, here are the things that we're looking for. And when you, Paula, are sensitive and respectful enough to do that, we're very grateful, right? Because it makes our job easier. And of course it helps you too, right? Because then we can find you better. But when people just sort of quick apply without really doing their due diligence, it's not good for anybody, right? Because we're kind of missing each other.
Yeah, and I think LinkedIn, I think is like there's not famous like in here because a lot of company will not use LinkedIn because we have some network limitation, you know. So yeah, so,
Oh,
yeah,
do you
so
not, are you not allowed to use LinkedIn in China?
I think maybe because like a lot of people not hear about this before, but maybe will not use it before. But I think some foreign company, when I look inside of LinkedIn, a lot of foreign company here will like finding the some actant the applier and the LinkedIn, but like a local company will not like pay
Not
much
use it.
attention for the people on the LinkedIn.
I see. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So other questions from folks?
How much time do we have left? 3 minutes?
Well, a few, yeah, we can have another 1 or 2 questions. We typically go a little over. Anything else?
Maybe I was trying to double down on Shira's first point a long time ago. It seems like a time's passed about Paula asking about customization. Is that I actually have a workflow where I have my regular resume, but then when I look at the job description, I change the summary. So if the recruiter, the first thing they see on their resume is everything they're looking for, you're it. So what I do is I look at the hard skills they're looking for primarily on the job description, and I put truthfully that in the summary so they don't have to go past 4 lines to see exactly what they want. And I was trying to exemplify that with what I was showing before, but that's my workflow to make that faster. I guess that'll be the advice that I have is if you're applying to one company after another, you know, don't do it blindly, but rather read the job description, make an effective summary section at the top of your resume that truthfully filters stuff that's relevant to them right to the top so they don't have to read past 4 lines. And if they do catch the right line they want, then they can read further. But
So let me make a friendly addendum to that, okay? So a lot of recruiters actually are not reading summaries, okay? Because a lot of people put in their summaries very sort of generic kinds of things around soft skills and whatever. So our eyes are now accustomed to kind of blow past it. Now, not everybody, some recruiters will read it. So to Alexander's point, if you want to keep a summary section and you want to put those key skills in there, great, do it. And do those bolded labels, okay? So yes, if they are reading it, Alexander's right, they'll catch it quickly, but just in case they miss it because they're skipping past the summary section, make sure it's also below.
yeah, I have that as well, but I don't even change that. That's just part of my standard resume for one. For another, thanks for the advice. I'm going to change the summary section to, hey, look. So yeah.
Put our arrows, neon lights.
See below.
All right. Other questions? Do you have anything today? Does anybody have a success story that they want to share? Something that went really well this week or recently? Encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, like if you like make your resume, if you don't have the some qualification, maybe some like degree they request. Can you like write some like project you did before or some like things you're able to do well the recruiter to like pay attention to those things? Well, if they say you don't have some degree, they don't have like qualification, they would just like throw your resume away.
Yeah, you're talking about listing projects?
Yeah, like the project you did in the college
Yeah,
or any other company.
sure.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. For anybody, if anybody on this call, like Leonardo's a recent college graduate, but anybody else that knows early career professionals, that's a very, very good thing to do to supplement a person's education. Right up top, you can list relevant coursework or relevant projects or relevant IT projects or whatever it is, and then boom, 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 and like literally have like a quarter page, even a half a page of all of the things that you've done that are relative to that work. And then at the bottom, you could have any internships and things like that. But you know, anybody whose main qualifications are schooling, having coursework or having projects, at the top can be very helpful.
Yeah, thank you for your advice. I put more like a project ID, like maybe human resume in the future. And thank you for today's like take a great lesson.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm having some video hazing here, so I'm gonna bring this back up. Anyway, in the meantime, anybody else have questions? Anything at all? Why don't we do one quick round of networking? Okay, we do this every once in a while. So I'd like to go around the room and have everybody share what they are looking for. Okay, so we're going to list. You can mention two things: what you do. I call that your lane. Okay, and then if you have an industry or a sector that you're looking, associations or government or tech firms or whatever. So what you do, your profession, and then who you do it for, okay? Who you're looking for. So we're going to do it. I'll go around my Zoom room. I'll tell you the order that you're showing up. Leonardo is first, Elizabeth, Paula, Alexander, Judah, and Scott. Okay, Leonardo, what kind of job are you looking for?
Yeah, so I'm looking for like an optical engineer. So like maybe about a laser technology or something, because this is what I'm like a major right now. So I work as a part-time job as a Chinese teacher, because you know, I'm still in the college, so my time may be like not a it's a little bit is flexible, but I cannot do the full-time job. So yeah, so maybe I can improve like some resume also about my part-time job to earn more money or something. But like the main idea for the like in the long run is to apply something about my majors, like the laser technology. And yes, and right now I think I'm 20 years old, so I think I decide to like made an elaborate resume in my like maybe next years 21 years old to get a decent job or something.
Thank you for sharing that, Leonardo. All right, Elizabeth.
Yeah,
I just have a question for Leonardo. Are you looking for work in China, or are you looking to move, or?
yeah, I'm quite flexible. It's like if there's like a good job in China, I can work in China, and in the other country I can also do that, because I'm young. I think I'm like willing to take a challenge and like go to different space to expand my views and gain more experiences to my life. Yeah.
Okay, very good. All
Yeah,
right.
thank
Well,
you.
I'm Elizabeth Stanford, and I am looking to be a reading specialist K through 3. For financial reasons, I've broadened my horizons so that I'm actually going to be interviewing for a sales development position this coming week, which really isn't my heart. But, you know, if I could land that reading specialist K through 3, I would be thrilled. But necessity is driving me to consider other options. So ideally, I would love to teach in person. I prefer that much to online, but for transportation reasons, I'm also considering online as well.
So Elizabeth, if you could write me, right now that search I mentioned that I'm doing is actually it's a search in the local area. It's a nonprofit that works with teenage girls. But as a result, I actually interviewed somebody yesterday who runs a nonprofit that is for like 3rd to 5th graders and whatever. Point is, I think she might have contacts for you in her world, because she plays, right? Not K to 3, but
right,
probably connected. So if you could, her name is Elizabeth. Also funny, actually just realized that. So if you could just send me an email, just as a prompter. I'm just giving you her first name right now for confidentiality. So just if you could just mention her, just prompt me to introduce you, and then I'll reach out to her privately and see if she's open to talking to you. Okay.
Thank you.
Paula?
So good morning, I'm Paula Kennedy. The majority of my career has been in nonprofit, and I would like to work in association management, utilizing my skills with project management. And I just recently got my certification as a Scrum Master. So I think just working in membership, I spent a lot of years working with lots and lots of teams. So being a Scrum Master highlights all of my working with teams in nonprofit. So
Paula, so just so you know, just to help you to be thoughtful about your search. So most associations actually don't hire project managers. I've seen that
Yes.
position like a couple of times. I actually have a client who happened to be one recently at an association management company, and I can put you in touch with her. But just to manage your expectations around that world, right? It's a pretty rare thing because most people don't know what to do with a project manager in associations.
Right.
So just you may want to expand your search, right, to include other sectors who appreciate the value, right, of what you
You mean
offer.
outside of associations? Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
most associations just don't have that title, and I've seen
Right.
a couple times, but generally they just don't know what to do with it because Scrum, Agile, all that stuff just doesn't usually apply, right?
Right. But they do. What I'm finding is in their description, they're always looking for someone with the project management skills.
Right, but not necessarily focus on hiring a project manager. Does that make
Correct.
sense?
Correct.
Yeah, there's a difference between the skill, what I call the ing, and the which is the profession. So
Right.
they want project management skills, but they're really looking for like a membership professional or a communications professional or someone who can do project management, but not necessarily a project manager. Again, I have seen a couple of times where an organization's been really thoughtful and say, hey, we need someone to manage all the projects.
Right.
Right. So it does happen. Just for the sake of your job search, I would encourage you to expand, your sectors to also find groups that really value project managers.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Alexander?
So for about 20 years, I used to develop software. I did have a couple of stints as a career change as a Scrum Master, and now I'm getting certified as a project manager. So that's the next role I'm looking for. I found that Scrum Master at some point was a buzzword in the software development world, and eventually, as teams get more mature, they don't quite need them, but they still need project managers. Everybody needs project managers, and Scrum is very, very much a part of the toolkit in project management. So getting certified now, and yeah, what's it like to find a job cold as a project manager?
So there is have you ever met Karen McCann? I think she's been on this call before. If you can send me a note, I'm happy to introduce you. So she's been in project management and that world forever. Good friend, Karen McCann, McCann, and I can do an introduction for you. She's a real connector. Yeah, let me put my email in here as well for anybody who wants to, just as a prompter in case I forget. Okay. In?
Hi, my name is In Barber, and I am a non-dues revenue generator for associations and nonprofits. That basically means I raise funds for associations and nonprofits. I specialize in corporate relations, corporate partnerships. So if there's a position that's looking for business development and corporate relations, corporate partnerships, that's what I would really like to do. Yes, in the nonprofit association space.
Great, thanks. And Judah, I know we've talked a little bit about your profession today. You want to say it again?
Yeah, redo. Hi, everybody. My name is Judah Lin, and I am a graphics, website, and brand designer working with solopreneurs and small businesses, helping them clarify their business message, presentation, and marketing strategy. So I'm looking for people who have maybe taken their business to first level and realize they could go further. They could maybe they're not converting like they'd like, or not communicating in a professional or their way that they'd like, and I can help them move to the next level.
Excellent. Thanks, Judah. Scott, are you with us? Do you want to say anything about your job search? Okay. And Vern, it's been a while since we've actually had you talk about context count. So I'd love for you to tell people more about what you're doing. And I know that you have a new course that you've launched, and maybe people can take advantage of that.
All right, thanks, Sheriff, for the opportunity. Yes, contacts count, the
I'm
company.
sorry, I thought I was unmuted.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Scott.
Okay, hey, Scott.
Can I be heard?
Yes, you want to tell us about your job search, or like tell us what you're looking for? Scott, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear us? Hello? Scott? I'm going to chat you.
I can hear you thumping around on your desk.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk.
Can you hear us, Scott?
I'm sorry. I muted my speaker instead of unmuted my mic. So I was talking, realized I was muted, unmuted, but couldn't hear anybody.
Can you hear us now?
There you go.
Yes, let me try this again.
All right.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Scott Boudreau, Certified Planning, Inventory Management. Looking for a supply chain job in Central New Jersey or remotely, specializing in inventory control or production planning. If there's a part number, I can manage it. If it doesn't, I'll create one. Scott Boudreau.
Great. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, thanks again, Sheriff. So Contacts Count is a company I bought in 2021, and I officially launched it through a new website on May 23rd. The first email went out to the 4,000 or 5,000.
It's lovely. Check out the website. It looks really great.
So, and a couple of things about Contacts Count. We talk a lot about networking and how important that is to your job search. So while I'm still invested in career management and love to help people, you know, with the resumes and everything else, I've got a clear focus on using your network to help you, you know, land a job, and not only land a job, but then use your network to help you, you know, be more successful in your job, advance your career. Shira will remember Holly Martinson. She was on this call for a long time, and through networking, she got more clarity around what she wanted to do, which is really important for your job search. Being clear on exactly what you want to do, and when you communicate that to others, the more specific you are, the easier it is for the other person to say, well, geez, I don't know anything about that, so I can't help you. Or, yes, I know something about that I can help you with, or I can connect you to somebody. And Holly and I are actually right now putting together a video that I'll put on the website that shares her story.
Oh,
So, and so here is the tagline for Contacts Count is the power of human connection. So Holly's focus, the clarity she got, was that she wanted to coach in executive function coaching. And I said, Holly, what is executive function coaching? Because I know a lot of coaching, but I didn't realize what that was. And so she explained that to me, and it really is coaching people who are neurodiverse, people with autism, people who have handicaps. And so she got real clarity around that. And so I said to myself, I said, well, how can I help Holly? I said, I need to learn more about executive networking coaching or executive function coaching. I reached out to my network, and I have an executive coach who was, you know, just been a tremendous friend and a colleague. And I said, Jeff, I said, do you know anything about executive function coaching?
By the way, this word executive is much different than CEO. The
yes,
executive. It's the ability to carry out a long-term function. Hey, I need to get a job which is multi-week, as opposed to something that might distract you.
so like higher level reasoning.
Yes, it's the brain, it's the executive function of the brain.
The brain.
And people who have autism or neurodiverse issues, you know, it's their brain is just wired differently. And so they need a particular, help and coaching to be able to function in jobs. And so when I asked my
And so to add to what Vern is saying, squirrel.
So when I asked my friend Jeff, I said, do you know anything about, executive function coaching? And Jeff says to me, now here's the power of human connection. He said, yes, I do. He said, I just finished a coaching assignment with one of the world's most noted executive function coaches. I said, Jeff, any chance you think Elle, and I can't remember her last name, would be willing to talk to Holly? He said, absolutely. And so Holly, in this new career, just getting started, getting clarity, then had a conversation with this world famous executive coach who helped her, gave her great ideas, gave her some thoughts about, her practice and how to help her. And so it's just, and I have hundreds of these stories, and I just want to share them with everybody so that they see the value and the power of human connection when you have people in your network that you can turn to help others, or using network to move your life along, and then you're able to help others as well.
That's exactly right. And even look at this group, right? That's how Holly met Vern.
Yes.
Through just a group like this. So that's why we're networking here, right? We want to help everybody to help each other.
Yeah.
So as you're hearing around the room, just like Vern said, and I've said today, we're all thinking about, well, who do I know that could help so-and-so? Think about that person, make the introduction. You never know what wonderful thing can happen. In fact, it happened on this call a couple of years ago. A woman named Kimberly was on this for a long time on this call. And she through this call, heard about another networking group. And she went to that networking group. And in that group, she was mentioning her job search. And somebody on that call said, hey, our company has an opening for blah, blah, blah. And turns out Kimberly had actually already applied there, never heard back. And on that call, it was the CFO who was on that call. And she said to Kimberly, send me your resume. Let me see. Got the job. She got the job. She's still there to this day, right? But you just never know who you're going to meet. So please, always be thinking about how can you help somebody to further their goals, not just in their career, right? But just in life, right? Be thinking about how can you be a resource to somebody.
And of course, the more, again, the power of human connection, the more you help other people, the more you're seen as someone who is valued. And the law of reciprocity kind of kicks in. It's like, wow, Elizabeth helps me so much, and now I know Elizabeth well enough that I'm always on the lookout for something that could possibly help Elizabeth. And that's how your network comes back to you for all the giving that you put into it. So
the Bible says give and it will be given back to you.
So
good. All right. So speaking of
I guess
that,
the last thing I would say is if you want to get on the mailing list for Context Count, just go to contextcount.com and you can join up for the email list. And I'm trying to send out a regular email every 1 to 2 weeks with information about Context Count, stories like this. So like I said, I hope Holly and I in the next few weeks actually create a video that we can put out there and share this story with anyone who's viewing the website. So
excellent. All right, so we've gone a little over, so we'll go ahead and end the call. And for those who are new on the call, I'm going to end the call formally, but I'm going to stay on for a prayer call. I'm going to be leading people in prayer for anybody who'd like to stay on. Okay, so.